We're back for another edition of Wine Guide TV. We're going to get all Italian on ourselves.
I think we need to use our hands a lot.
Daniele Simone. Dan Sims, Ben Edwards, that's us. But today it's all about a single grape variety that comes from Italy, but it's also grown in Australia, and it has quite a few people quite excited. What is the name of that grape variety, Dan?
Nebbiolo is the name of the grape variety, and we keep banging on about how much we love Pinot Noir, but when it gets to Italy, the wine or the grape variety that takes us to those incredible heights really is Nebbiolo, traditionally from the area of Piemonte in the northwest of Italy. But we're starting to see some really exciting examples in Australia, which, and we're going to have a look at a couple here, which I think are well worth discussing.
Absolutely.
It's a style thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so a bit of background on Nebbiolo, and it gets people a little confused. And we love wines that have savoury personalities, because the savoury characters in wines are often the stuff that goes best with food. And if you're thinking protein, and because we're not vegetarians, clearly, wines with a lot of tannin, a lot of acid, actually really blossom with, you know, roasted meats or braised meats and stuff like that. So these wines tend to be quite low in colour, very high in acid, very high in tannin, and sort of low in fruit, but lots of these lovely ethereal, savoury characters, more often associated with tar, roses, you know, all of these lovely, gorgeous things. And so,
and I think also another thing, in Australia we're so used to drinking wine by itself without food. Now these wines, you really need to have food with them to get that full expression, and they really do change with food especially. Now, to kick us off, we've got the Galli Estate Artigiano fell over it by saying it. Now, Galli Estate, Lorenzo Galli, incredible, very well, apart from the fact that he's very Italian, very passionate about these varieties. This particular fruit comes from Heathcote. And look, you know, it's a bit of disclaimer, they do a fabulous scholarship, which I'm on the board for, about celebrating Italian varietals and also educating young wine professionals across Australia. And, you know, this particular wine is a really lovely, light and approachable and surprisingly approachable example of the style.
And it's light in colour, but don't be deceived, there's plenty of personality behind it. But it's kind of the fleshy, plump sort of thing. And usually, and it's a 2009 vintage, usually Nebbiolos really take a long time to draw all of their structure and their character out of. So you don't tend to see younger Nebbiolos, but this is made in that style so people can approach it.
And it's softer, and it's that textural thing. And in terms of price point as well, it's very, very accessible.
The next wine is not so accessible in terms of price, but oh my word, it's accessible in terms of flavour. It is an absolute doozy when it comes to Nebbiolo in Australia. Adelaide Hills is showing, probably at this early stage of Nebbiolo's development in Australia, it's probably showing the most potential, and Steve Pannell's been hard at it. You can take that whichever way you like. This is a 2007 example of the Nebbiolo, and you can't see the colour here, but it's still quite pale in colour, but the minute you pick the wine up and smell it, you just know there's a whole lot more going on. It's really quite earthy, savoury, it's got some kind of dusty, brambly notes, but then there's this gorgeous dark core of fruit. Now, it's structured, it's serious, and you do not want to drink this one by itself. You have to have it with food, but it will age beautifully. And
also, you know, Steve's actually done some vintages at one of our favourite producers, Vira in Piemonte. And in terms of Nebbiolo, the guy is completely obsessed, and the attention to detail in this wine is absolutely wonderful. And look, I've been at a tasting where this wine has been in a blind lineup with someone from Piedmont, and they were blown away, and they actually couldn't really pick the fact that that was from Australia.
And that's very unusual, because Nebbiolo doesn't travel very well traditionally. So obviously we're doing the thing Steve's doing the best. That's probably a 95 point wine. Absolutely gorgeous. Not a lot of it around though. Really, really lovely.
Hardly, but gee, that's a special drink.
Now you've given me a perfect little segue, because you just mentioned Vira, and I'm going to be visiting Giuseppe Vira in a couple of weeks.
Almost probably now when this goes to air.
After this goes to air. We're probably about now. I'll probably be there sipping a glass of Piemontese Barolo. Oh, sorry, Dan. He gets a little upset, he's Mr. Italy. And so I'll be there, and so now we're going to start talking about the wines of Piedmont. And the first one is from Vieti. Now, Vieti are in Castiglione Falletto. This particular wine is a Longa Nebbiolo, so it means that it's not from the particular denominazione of Barolo or Barbaresco, but it comes from the greater region. Not necessarily saying that it does, but it could. Now, this particular one is
effectively almost like a declassified Barolo, DOCG. So these vineyards come from throughout Barolo. It could actually be classed, but they're generally to the younger vines. And Luca Grado, who makes this wine, I mean, he is so charismatic. Luca, he is He's fantastic. He's got a beautiful personality. And this wine for me, in terms of like you're talking about entry level, introduction to the style of what Nebbiolo is all about, this is a really lovely wine.
And Vieitti's one of our favourite producers.
It is. And being from 07, that little bit more weight and more ripeness and weight really balances out those really lovely but silky but distinctly Nebbiolo tannins.
Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is 92.1, but that's only in the context of Nebbiolo that comes from Piemonte. If you've seen this wine, per se, elsewhere as a Nebbiolo, you'd probably give it a lot more. And that's one of the things about giving points, is that it's all about putting it into context. Moving along to a wine that actually is under the DOCG of Barolo, and from, you know, a bit of a favourite producer of ours again, but it's funny, we keep on putting wines on we like. But this is from Piemonte. They make beautiful Barbaresco wines, but also this wonderful example of 2006 Barolo.
I mean, look, when we're talking about these styles, I mean, this is very... When we talk about Barolo, sometimes I talk about this whole modern versus traditional thing, and to be perfectly honest, I'm completely bored of that discussion. I think now, I mean, this is like...
even though I saw your eyes glaze over when you said it.
It's so incredibly boring, because this, I mean, we talk about being traditional, and this is a really wonderful modern example of a traditional producer, if that makes sense. There's wonderful, lovely classic tar and roses and elegance and restraint to this wine, but then there's underlying power.
And they say that Barolo is the masculine version of the two. If Barbaresco is the queen, then Barolo is the king, and that's a great example of it. It's darker, denser, more chewy, and 94 points.
Definitely, and there's one comment with some of these collar wines, particularly, is this great, wonderful Italian saying, vino della meditazione, being sit there, watch it evolve in the glass and watch it change. It's a really easy journey, and I've got to say, the dinner, the Collar family, I've had a 14-course dinner, it was amazing.
And in these colder months, you know, these wines with all this tannin and stuff, once you're into those braised dishes, and I love them, you've got to be thinking polenta, you've got to be thinking plenty of really lovely, rich, hearty foods. These wines are an absolute Monty.
Well, as this goes to where you are going to be in Piemonte, and I certainly hope that you're going to be sending lots of videos and feedback on it, which I'm assuming is going to be on thewineguide.com.au.
Yes, it will be.
Explore Nebbiolo, explore these Italian grape varieties. They certainly offer a lot to the wine drinker, so enjoy.
Enjoy indeed.